Before we start answering the case study, let me tell you the synopsis of margin call. It started when an investment firm analyst, Peter Sullivan, uncovered sensitive information that could easily plunge the entire business into peril, inadvertently destroying the lives and careers of his colleagues. In this tense thriller set during the onset of the 2008 financial crisis. Over the course of the next 24 hours, Peter Sullivan realizes that the decisions he makes will not only affect the employees of the firm, but the life of everyday Americans from coast to coast as well. First of all, I will start with question 2. The ethical dilemma faced by Sam Rogers was whether to follow John Tutt to sell off all the majority assets of the company to avoid several losses that was about to happen. The plan of selling off all the assets without the clients knowing what was about to happen to the company will cause the clients will no longer be their clients in the future. If the company decided to carry out this plan, it may cause them to lose some of their major clients' trust in the future. The conflict faced by Sam Rogers was to choose between focusing on individual or community. Individual is related to his self-interest, which means the decision made will be benefit upon the company. He will have to ignore the effect that might be happen to the employees. On the other hand, if he chose to select the community, therefore the company will no longer survive in the market due to the huge amount of losses. This will be a hard decision to make since the familiarity between Sam Rogers and the other workers are really close. The resolution principle in this case is Golden Rule. The Golden Rule is the principles of treating others as one would wish to be treated oneself. To maintain the existence of the company's survival in the market, Sam Rogers has no choice but to follow the order of John Tutt in selling off the company's worthless assets. Sam Rogers was considered as unethical as he continued to follow the company's unethical planning. Next, the ethical dilemma faced by John Tutt is whether to sell off the entire assets to ensure the survival of the company, as being suggested by Jed Cohen, or otherwise the company will face financial crisis. John Tutt needs to look at the short-term and long-term of the company condition on every decision that will be taken into action. But in the situation that he was facing, both conditions also will give a bad impact towards the company. This has led the CEO to choose on taking action on the short-term effect since the concerns were about the company operations at the current situation. The resolution principle involved for John Tutt would be end-based principle, where he focused the consequences of particular action, which means selecting the option that generates the most benefits for the most people. John Tutt decided to sell all of the assets and ignore about the effect to the company. This ethical issue shown by John Tutt was justice theory. John Tutt seemed to be unethical and violated the principle of justice because from his action, the distribution of benefits and burdens are unfair towards others. Therefore, his action was considered as unethical. Looking to Jed Cohen, the ethical dilemma faced by him is whether to sell all the worthless assets before public find out the truth. This action will destroy the relationship with their counterparties. Jed Cohen faced a conflict on deciding on the short-term or the long-term benefits, but he needs to choose the best strategy for the firm in solving problems in those critical situations. But he had made decision to counter the problem for a short term. He was aware of the risk in the weeks leading up to the crisis. However, the firm might not be able to recover for a long-term period nor do the short-term if the worthless assets were not sold off in time. The resolution principle for Jed Cohen is rule-based principles. Jed Cohen performs his duty to serve the best to minimize financial risk of the company. He had made decisions based on a universal view where what others will do in his position as the head of capital market in maintaining the survival of the organization. The ethical reasoning for Jed Cohen is conventional level stage 3, interpersonal concordance of the good boy or good girl orientation. Jed Cohen makes decisions based on what actions will please the CEO, which was to sell off the toxic assets and avoid the financial crisis. This plan is favored by the CEO. Jed Cohen concerned about maintaining relationships with the top authority. Jed Cohen is considered as unethical because he followed the CEO's order, which is also unethical to the community. The ethical dilemma or conflict faced by Eric Dale was whether to stay at the firm during critical time or reveal the truth to the public about what is happening. After he has been fired up, he was called up to work back with the company because of the result on the company value at risk model that have been finished out by his prostate. As looking on the company situation, an ethical decision has been taken. Eric Dale was thinking whether to work back with the company or reject the offer. But because of his condition, he needs money to pay for his house, which he has just bought. He has taken the decision to get back to the company. The type of conflict faced by him was being truth or to be loyalty. Same as some of the character before, the resolution principle for Eric Dale is N-based principles, where he needs to select the option that generates the most good for the most part of the community and the company. As for that ethical reasoning is Colbert's second stage of moral development. People recognize that others also have needs. They may try to satisfy others' needs if their own needs are also met. They continue to define right or wrong primarily in terms of consequences to themselves. Eric Dale continued to stay loyal to the company because he believed that this will help him to continue his career and not ended up being jobless. This action of his is considered as unethical for taking decision that is of self-interest. Now I will proceed to the third question. Corporate social responsibility is a voluntary corporate method that adds to sustainable growth by providing economic, social, and environmental welfare for all stakeholders. It is a corporation's sense of accountability towards the public and surroundings, both ecological and social, in which it operates. In the movie titled Margin Call, there were few characters that show their concern with corporate social responsibility. The first character in the movie that concerned with corporate social responsibility was Sam Rogers, head of sales and trading. He was not agreed to sell the toxic asset to the market. He showed his distress on the effects of trading off the valueless MBS assets because doing so will destroy the firm's relationship with its counterparties. This showed that he took care of the economy and counterparties' welfare. He was concerned about the relationship of the firm with their customers. The second character in the movie that concerned with corporate social responsibility was Eric Dale, former head of risk management. He was worried with the corporate situation and future even though being fired, part of a wave of retrenchments. Even though he was laid off, he was still concerned with the future of the corporate and wanted to help the corporate. On his way out the door, Eric Dale told his apprentice, Peter Sullivan, that he has been studying on something significant. He gave Peter Sullivan a pen drive to look at, and with a vague warning, "Be careful," as the elevator closes. He passed his work to Peter Sullivan so that he can continue to complete it. The third character in the movie that concerned with corporate social responsibility was Peter Sullivan, senior risk analyst. He was concerned with the corporate situation by finishing Eric Dale's incomplete works. After the working hour, he worked late at night and tried to figure out what is in the pen drive. In the end, with his hard work, he figured out that the firm is overexposed and is enormously over-leveraged. He decided to share what he found with his seniors because he believed that it is very vital to the organization and society. Now I will continue with the question 4. First of all, let me explain what is the corporate governance. Corporate governance is a system of rules, practices, and processes by which a company is directed and controlled. Besides, it is concerned with practices and procedures for trying to ensure that a company is running in such a way that it achieves its objective. This could be to maximize the wealth of the shareholders, subject to various guidelines and constraints, and with regard to the other groups with an interest in what the company does. Guidelines and constraints include behaving in an ethical way and in compliance with laws and regulations. Based on the movie Margin Call, there were many events that can be related with corporate governance, but we will only focus on the risk management in this discussion. For example, this can be seen in the event where it is revealed that John Todd, Jay Cohen, and Sarah Robertson were aware of the risk in the weeks leading up to the crisis. In this event, Sarah Robertson could have done much better in addressing the risks that could lead to the collapse of the firm. Instead of playing her role as Chief Risk Management Officer to advise the firm about the potential risks in a right and clear manner, she chose to ignore what the firm needs to do in mitigating such risks. Even though she did warn about the risk earlier, perhaps it is not loudly enough to convince the top management. As she failed to prepare the draft for contingency plan, John Todd plans to offer Robertson's resignation to the board and employees as a scapegoat. Sarah Robertson was instructed to remain in the office all day and do nothing with the promise of nice compensation in return. Thus, from this event, we can see that Sarah Robertson has an important role in creating an integrated risk framework for the entire organization and develops plans so that the entire organizations know how to mitigate and respond to the risk, as well as play her part in promoting effective corporate governance for the firm. However, she failed. For question number 5, if I were Peter Sullivan, I will make the same career decisions from physics to investment banking. This is because I can gain more knowledge from both careers. Shifting career from physics to investment banking will require me to learn about investment banking from the bottom to professional level. Staying in physics field for several years may cause Peter Sullivan to get bored because he may be working in the field for quite some time and at the same time facing all the challenges he has already encountered along the way. So he may look for new challenges to challenge himself that at the same time can help him to motivate himself. Other than that, changing careers from physics to investment banking will make Peter Sullivan to be able to gain more money. For part B, I will make the same decision as Peter Sullivan, that is to inform my senior about my findings. The former head of risk management, Eric Dale, has given Peter Sullivan a file that contains risk model created by Eric Dale to be completed by Peter Sullivan. Then Peter Sullivan discovered that the company is in danger and already in critical condition. Informing the seniors is a must because it is a big matter and will influence the company's future. If Peter Sullivan did not tell anyone about it, the firm will suffer a loss greater than its market capitalization. Thus, informing the matter is the right and ethical way to help the company to find solutions to stabilize the company's condition. For the last part, if I were Peter Sullivan, I will not accept the promotion offered by the company. The company, as we all know, already in a great loss due to the trading of the asset at a lower price. Although the company had survived, we have seen the way they managed the company. For example, most of the senior executives and staff did not have that knowledge about the trading. If the management is excellent, there is no way that such matters arise. The problem occurs due to the self-interest of John Tutt, the company's CEO, and brought other senior executives that are Sarah and Jack Cohen to support him. The problem occurred in the company already shows the company's weaknesses. In conclusion, Margin Call is the smartest movie you will ever see about the financial crisis. The message is clear. This has happened before, it will happen again. Human nature does not change. The real question to take away from the movie is not whether we should reform our financial or economic system to prevent another crisis. The question is whether we can at all.